Hi there, I'm Kim Sedgwick.
And I'm Amy Sedgwick.
And we are the co-founders of Red Tent Sisters. Today we're answering an Ask the Sisters question. Someone wrote in and asked, how do I know when I'm ovulating? And I think this is a really interesting question because we're just not taught this stuff growing up. And I think a lot of us are led to believe that we're fertile all the time, when in reality the window is very small, which I only learned when we started doing this work. So Ames, want to fill in the blanks about how long you're actually fertile and how you know when you ovulate?
Sure. So, for ovulation, what's really surprising to a lot of people is that the egg is actually only available for fertilization for 12 to 24 hours. So it's a very short amount of time when you look at the length of a woman's cycle. It might be 28, 35 days, but there's actually one of those days really is the only day that she can actually conceive. Now, from a birth control perspective, you actually want to look at when are your fertile times, because it's not just ovulation that matters, it's when we're capable of supporting the life of sperm. And we have all sorts of information on our YouTube channel and our blog about natural birth control and how to identify that fertile time. So that's sort of the topic of a whole other conversation. But we also get asked this question by people who are trying to conceive, and they're trying to pinpoint the exact day of ovulation. I would say the same thing goes. You need to be not just concerned about what day you're ovulating, but what days are you actually fertile, meaning when can you actually support the life of sperm? And what's really surprising is that recent research has looked at, people who end up in fertility clinics. And most of them, before they end up in a fertility clinic, do some research to better understand when they're fertile and how they should be timing intercourse or insemination. And most of them believe that they are doing it correctly. But what this research is finding is that when they actually do studies and ultrasounds of women's ovaries to find out when they're actually ovulating, that it's a very small percentage of the women in these fertility clinics who are actually identifying that fertile time and ovulation correctly. It's, I believe, less than 20%. Wow. And so there's a huge number of people who are ending up thinking that they're infertile, and it's really just because they haven't been educated properly about how to identify that fertile time and ovulation. So there's a few ways that you can do this. The first one is cervical mucus. You have to have good quality cervical mucus in order for sperm to be able to survive in the vagina and also to be able to swim up and fertilize an egg. So that's really key. And again, we have lots more information about that in various places on our channel and on our blog. Also, what can be helpful is taking your basal body temperature. So this helps to confirm ovulation because after we ovulate, we start to produce more progesterone, and that progesterone increases our metabolic rate, basically. So we get a slightly higher core temperature. So this is a great way of confirming, but it's really not good for using as a way to actually conceive, because it's going to tell you usually that 24 hours after you've ovulated, which, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of getting too late at that point. So it's good for just confirming that you're ovulating if that's a concern, like if you have any kind of a reproductive health or hormonal issue that makes you concerned about whether you're even ovulating at all. That's a really good piece of information to have. Some people use ovulation predictor kits. So these basically will track a hormonal surge called the LH surge for luteinizing hormone that happens just prior to ovulation. So those can be helpful, but they're also quite expensive and they're not always accurate. So sometimes people have an LH surge that's unrelated to ovulation. And again, sometimes that surge happens at a time when a woman's fertile mucus has dried up. So if you're timing just based on those OPKs, you're not necessarily going to get an effective conception. So this is, again, where the importance of fertility awareness, really looking at your mucus, getting to know your body, and being properly educated around fertility and menstrual cycle charting is really key, both for conception and for birth control.
And finally, can you just explain to our viewers, what does good quality cervical mucus look like?
It should look like egg white. So it should be clear, it should be stretchy, and it should have a very lubricative sensation when you're wiping. So if you're getting a lot of mucus that looks not like that, so especially things that are gummy, yellow, those are often signs of inflammation. And again, that's really important, a whole topic of a whole other conversation, but it can be signs of inflammation, sometimes autoimmune conditions, food allergies, all sorts of things that can impede fertility. So if those are the types of signs that you're seeing, make sure you come and talk to us.
For sure. So as Amy mentioned, we've got lots more information on our website, on our blog, our YouTube channel. You can also find us on social media. We're at Red Tent Sisters on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.